It's always interesting to see what kind of weapons a Resident Evil game will bring to the table when it's released. Newcomers and returning favorites are always something that I look forward to seeing, especially on my later playthroughs of a Resident Evil game, and the Resident Evil 3 remake was certainly no exception. So today I thought it would be fun to count down a list of some of my favorites that we'll be using against the zombie hordes on the decaying streets of Raccoon. Keep in mind that this is my list, and as such will almost certainly differ from yours, so feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. All that being said, let's kick this list off with... To be completely honest with you, I never use grenade launchers in Resident Evil games. They're a weapon that have appeared in so many of the games in the series, and despite how much of the series I've played, I've just never felt the need to get familiar with this weapon and really use it. For me, it's always been a case of thinking that grenades should be saved for a later date against a boss or something, and then the need for that just doesn't come because I have the Magnum. However, the Resident Evil 3 remake does something that I don't recall any of the other games doing, and that's actually making it almost necessary to use this version of the weapon. In two of the fights with Nemesis, he'll jump onto the walls of the arena and start running a circle around you. And while I think you could technically shoot him out, the most effective way to stop his spiral is to use the grenade launcher and place down a mine grenade in his path and explode him off his feet.
I'm gonna kill you!
These fights really gave me some much needed exposure to this weapon that I had never really gotten before. And before long, I found myself breaking it out from time to time to test out the different grenades that could be equipped and see what they did. This exposure to the weapon has given me a new appreciation for the grenade launcher, and while it's still far from my favorite weapon, I do like it enough to add it to the 5th spot on this list. What is there to say about a weapon that's been in almost every game ever? The shotgun is awesome, and it's no different in Resident Evil 3. First acquired in the subway operations building, you have to get the bolt cutters before you'll be able to break this baby out of its secure home. But once you've managed that, it's going to be your best friend for dealing with almost everything that you're going to find on your first and into your second playthroughs. There are so many enemies in this game that don't really respond to the power of the handgun. But the shotgun, well, they respect the shotgun. That all being said, there's not much that's exceptionally special about the shotgun in this game. You'll no doubt use it a lot during your playthroughs, but it doesn't quite have some of the more memorable qualities for me like some of the others I've had in the series. Its design is pretty basic, and aside from the variations from the add-ons, there's only one shotgun in the game. But I still love it, so the shotgun earns the 4th spot on this list. I feel like I'm going to be one of the few people who would add the infinite handgun to a list of their favorites from this game. Namely because it's pretty weak and there are arguably better choices for relative prices in the extras shop. However, due to the kinds of videos that I make, I don't generally go for the more powerful weapons so that I can prolong enemy altercations, and the infinite handgun with its less than stellar strength is perfect for that. If you've watched any of my lore videos for this game, then it's likely that you've seen this handgun at some point, because I record almost every clip with it. Fighting with this weapon gives the enemy time to show off its moves, much more so than if I just ran in there with a Magnum and one-shot them. As such, it's made me appreciate this weapon much more than I think I generally would otherwise, with it almost certainly being the weapon that I've used the most overall. That being said, it's not really memorable outside of my personal experiences with it. Unlike the normal handgun, it doesn't have any attachments, and I think it's actually weaker than the normal handgun, so if you're wanting something useful, this isn't really it. However, not having to look for ammo or worry about killing enemies quickly has allowed me to get much more familiar with mechanics I sort of neglected in my first playthrough, specifically the dodge roll. So, while I don't think the infinite handgun is for everyone, for me, it's been a welcome addition that's definitely earned its spot on this list. Two handguns back to back. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Well, while I love the infinite handgun for the simplicity that it offers, I enjoy the normal handgun for just the opposite. While many of the weapons in this game have attachments that can be used to improve certain aspects of them, it's the handgun that stands out to me as the one that gets the most benefit out of the system. Upgrades have been a pretty consistent part of the Resident Evil universe for quite some time at this point, and while we've seen them take on the form of modular upgrades, as in the case of RE5, RE3 takes an approach that's much more akin to how they were handled in RE0. Which is to say, they are attachments that can be found over the course of the game and combined with your current firearm. Personally, I'm not sure which system I prefer. I like that you can find these attachments in the wild in games like 3, but the merchant is great as well. Regardless though, the handgun is my favorite weapon to gather attachments for because of how different it feels when they're applied, as well as the unique ways in which they're acquired. For the first, it's a simple little puzzle, but the other two are for knocking down Nemesis during two of your first interactions with him. Of course, I didn't do this the first time around, so it was a pleasant discovery to find once I had the confidence and firepower to take him on. It's just something that stuck out to me as a positive and interesting thing in this game. And for that reason, the handgun earns the second spot on this list. It's not often that the Infinite Rocket Launcher tops my list of top weapons in a Resident Evil game, but Resident Evil 3 is going to be an exception. There are a lot of weapons in this game, but none of them have both the firepower and usability of the Infinite Rocket Launcher. The Raiden requires precise accuracy, the Magnum has no infinite ammo capabilities, and the Infinite Handgun is weak. This leaves you with really only one option for busting through this game at a speedy pace, that of course being this weapon. I've played through this game so many times at this point. I own it for both the Xbox as well as the PlayStation, and I've beaten the game to full completion on both. With the Xbox, I've played through Inferno straight, using weapons that were appropriate for the number of playthroughs I was on, and it was a slog. For the PlayStation though, I did no such thing. I hoarded all my points and bought the Infinite Rocket Launcher first thing, and then decimated everything that walked into my path.
It's still kicking?
The Infinite Rocket Launcher has been in several RE games, but it's this one that I think I've used it the most. It's a gun that I've generally avoided because of its overpowered nature, but with how many times I've played through this game, it's a gun that I break out all the time now just to get through the hordes of zombies and other beasts. So for the enemies it's slain, the fun it's provided, and the time it saved me, the Infinite Rocket Launcher takes the #1 spot on this list. Anyways, those are my picks. What are yours? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. This game doesn't have as many weapons as some of the others in the series, but it does have some pretty memorable ones that I think will be remembered for quite some time. Shout out to the hot dogger that got featured in Fortnite along with the Jill Valentine skin. But regardless, thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.